Hey guys, and welcome to another video, and there hasn't been a traditional Nintendo Direct in 11 months, and there hasn't been any first-party information or updates on games in a while, so there could possibly be a Nintendo Direct, or at least a better Nintendo Direct mini soon that reveals more information on first-party games. So I'm not specifically putting this prediction for an August Direct. There could possibly be something in September also, or maybe even later than that. But hopefully there's at least a couple more titles from Nintendo coming in 2020, or even some more information for what's in the future in 2021 or beyond. So I'm going to split this video up into 3 sections, starting with unlikely games, and then possible games, and likely games. So let's go ahead and get started. So with unlikely games, first off is Metroid Prime 4. So if you don't know already, at the beginning of last year, they had to restart the development for Metroid Prime 4, and they initially revealed it back in 2017, but now I don't really see this game coming out until 2022 or even 2023, going by the normal release schedule or development schedule of most games, because it probably started like development back in late 2018 when they restarted, because they probably gave the announcement that they restarted development shortly after they started, so it's possible it could come out in the next few years, but I don't really see it happening at all at a Direct other than a teaser trailer for a potential date, but that's still really unlikely. I don't think we'll see Metroid Prime 4 for a while. And the next thing that seems unlikely is a Breath of the Wild 2 or Breath of the Wild sequel release date trailer, since it seems a little too far out since we didn't have like a update on that game for a year, so it's possible they're like decently through development with that game now. It could possibly come out next year, but I don't think we'll get a release date update on that game other than the year. A year is possible. And a new 3D Mario or Super Mario Odyssey 2. So I definitely think this could happen, but I'd say it would be later in the Switch's lifespan. Probably, like, the earliest a new 3D Mario could come out is next year. Next year or beyond, there could possibly be, like, an Odyssey 2 or something. I just feel like it's too soon, because Odyssey was a pretty big game, and I feel like that game could last a while before it gets a sequel. I know Galaxy got a sequel, but that game was more linear, even though it was a pretty big game. I feel like they could be doing something bigger with the next Super Mario Odyssey or the next 3D Mario. So the final one I feel like is unlikely for upcoming Nintendo Direct is a new Kirby game, or at least a new mainline Kirby game, because like I feel like one could definitely happen as soon as next year, maybe even this year, but that's pretty like unlikely that one would happen this year. But the Kirby games usually come out every 2 to 3 years, so it's possible we could get one next year, but I don't think it's likely that we'll be getting one in the Nintendo Direct. So let's go ahead and move on to the possible games. The first game that's kind of possible for an upcoming Nintendo Direct is 3D Mario Remasters, or a 3D Mario Collection, something along the lines of that. I don't really think they'd remake the games. If they were gonna remake any, I think they'd probably remake 64 to have like newer models and everything like that, but I feel like they'd keep that the same if they're gonna do like a collection of them or just a re-release of them. I still feel like they can be upgraded. Their resolution is obviously going to be upgraded to 1080p, 720p, around there, and I feel like it could either be upgraded ports, kind of like remasters, or they could be full-on remakes. I don't think they necessarily have to remake Sunshine or Galaxy especially because they would probably work well in HD, because they're using higher quality models in those games. And the next possible game is a new 2D Metroid. So, like, kind of on the lines of like Super Metroid or the older ones, and I feel like I'm not really into the Metroid series, but I have played the older ones, and it would kind of be along the lines of that. So I believe this would be the 5th one, and this has been heavily rumored. So there was a remake of one of the Metroid games back in 2017 on the 3DS, but that's the last Metroid thing we got. We haven't really gotten anything related to Metroid in a while, especially on the Switch, not including the Nintendo Switch Online games. So it would be nice to see a new Metroid game before Metroid Prime 4, or even the Metroid Prime trilogy, which I'm not even discussing in this because it's been discussed enough, I feel. I don't really, with the Prime trilogy, I'm not sure, like, if that's even possible, since, like, people have been speculating about it since 2017, so I'm not really sure about that. But moving on is Nintendo 64 or Game Boy for Nintendo Switch Online. So I really feel like Nintendo could be, like, they could keep upgrading the Switch Online service, since they have been adding a lot of games on there. I feel like if they're going to do Nintendo 64 games, they're probably not going to add as many. They're probably going to add like 15 if they're going to do, like, well, starting off at least, if they're going to do that on the service. And for Game Boy, there might even be more when they're starting off, maybe like 25 games, and they could be from the Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, and possibly even DS in the future, but I'm not sure if DS would be lumped in with Game Boy or its own separate thing. They could do like a Nintendo handheld for Nintendo Switch Online, so that's definitely possible. It's like, it's not likely, but it's still possible because they did do the yearly thing with the SNES games, and they could possibly do like another thing for this year with 64 Game Boy, so we'll have to see what they do with that. And next up is a new Nintendo IP. There has been a lot of rumors about a new Nintendo IP for the past couple of years, so it's possible because we got Splatoon, ARMS, and then a lot of smaller new Nintendo IPs, like maybe Ring Fit Adventure or Labo would technically count, but I could see something happening sometime in the future, because it's been a couple years since we got something completely new from Nintendo, and it's definitely possible. Next up is something Pikmin related, if it's either a Pikmin 3 port or Pikmin 4. I honestly see they could probably do a Pikmin 3 port this year, and then later on they could do Pikmin 4, or maybe even a Pikmin 3 port next year, I don't know. But I don't really see Pikmin 4 happening yet. I really see a 3 port happening, because, like, knowing Nintendo, they just really like to port their Wii U games over to the Switch, especially if it's like a game like that, since they ported over Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze instead of making a new one. There could also be a Donkey Kong Country game coming in the future, but I don't really see that for a while. So I don't think Pikmin 4 could happen yet. It could be possible. It could happen, but I feel like they'd rather port over the Wii U game. And finally, for the possible games, is any updates at all for Breath of the Wild sequel, or even Bayonetta 3. So I feel like they could get maybe another trailer, maybe showing off some gameplay, and for Bayonetta 3 they could possibly give a release date window or something like that, so that's possible. So now I'm gonna go ahead and discuss the likely games that would almost definitely would be announced. Well, I wouldn't say definitely, probably like very possible or likely that they'd be announced at an upcoming Nintendo Direct. So let's move on to that. So the first game that is likely for an upcoming Nintendo Direct is Super Mario 3D World port. So this has been heavily rumored a lot, and I feel like it's even been leaked from multiple places, including Best Buy, and I'm not sure if GameStop leaked it. I'm not sure. They do leak the SKUs a lot before Nintendo Directs, but a 3D World port would definitely work on the Nintendo Switch, since they ported like other Mario Wii U games over, like New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. I feel like 3D World could... There's either two ways they could give the deluxe treatment on it. They could do it like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and add like a whole new mode, new characters, and a lot of new features in the game. They could possibly add like new characters, new levels, maybe a new special world or something like that, or even like Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. Or they could do it like New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe and barely add anything other than like an easy mode, which is also what they did with Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I feel like they could possibly do both. Like they could have an easier mode in 3D World along with a new world and a couple new characters. But I feel like a 3D World port is very likely, because that's one of the few missing Wii U games that are really popular, and that's one that a lot of people have been wanting to play. And next up is Super Smash Bros. Challenger Pack 7 for the second Fighter's Pass, and I feel like that's also very possible, since if it's released around like August or September, it would probably be like a fall release. So there's usually a fall release Smash character following a summer release. They're usually like each season. So it's very likely that like a Super Smash Bros. Reveal could be happening soon, since it's actually been a little over a month since mid released. So it's definitely possible. And next up is No More Heroes 3. So No More Heroes 3 had its last update at the Game Awards last year, and it did get a couple leaked videos, or well, I wouldn't say leaked, it was by the actual developer, a couple snippets of gameplay at like a few different unrelated presentations. So I don't know how that happened, but like I know the game is probably... It's kind of likely that it's going to come out this year. There's a possibility that it could come out in 2021 or release later, but it could release in 2020. And also, recently rated was No More Heroes 1 port for the Nintendo Switch, so that could also be like a thing either releasing around the time or leading up to No More Heroes 3. So that's kind of likely that that could actually happen, since there has been a lot of ports of other games in the series that came to the Switch, so I could definitely see that happening. And finally, a release date and more gameplay for Pokemon Snap. I feel like this game could come out this year, since there really hasn't been any Pokemon games, not counting Mystery Dungeon. I mean like a holiday Pokemon game coming this year, because there usually is one every year. If it's big or a smaller game, I feel like there's a Pokemon game every year. I don't think the DLC for Sword and Shield can completely carry over Pokemon for this year, so I think it's very likely that Pokemon Snap could at least get a release date at the next Direct. They could reveal that it's coming out in early 2021 or sometime in 2021, but it's definitely possible that it could release in 2020. So anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and also if you want, check out my Twitter or join my Discord server in the description. So thank you guys for watching, and goodbye.